We talk about open relationships a lot on this show, but today we're going to talk about opening up something else, your pelvic floor. Because there's 14 muscles that can literally make or break your pleasure. And I have a funny story about today's guest. Jana and I actually met in a group for sex positive professionals, which means that we're surrounded by all kinds of relationship styles, orientations, passions, right? And I invited Jana on, but she is delightfully monogamous. She's been with her high school sweetheart for almost 30 years, and we're not trying to discriminate against the monogamous around here. Everyone's welcome at this table. So what I love is that even though we have very different relationship styles, our missions are like really overlapping. Helping people feel more connected, more confident, way more turned on in their own bodies, having better sex, better orgasms, better love, right? Jana is a sensual health and pelvic floor wellness expert. She's the founder of Bloom Better and the creator of the world's first pelvic floor fitness tool, the Cooch Ball, which is fun, exactly as fun as it sounds. So today we're going to talk about how your pelvic health affects your pleasure, your confidence, and even your like emotional connection during intimacy. Trust me, this is like good stuff. You're gonna want to hear it. Okay, so welcome to Nope, We're Not Monogamous. And I want to make a joke about how we don't discriminate against the monogamous people. Okay. So so I know that you are monogamous and have been for a really long time. And so I'm really happy that you're coming on the show because there is a thing that you do that I actually really adore and I think is important for anybody who is doing just living life, but doing any sexy things. So let's start with, can you tell me a little bit about your work?
Yeah. So my work really is positioned in between the legs of a female or a male. And it's a part of the body that I believe is overlooked and underloved until there is an issue. I think it's a part of the body that for men, they don't think they have to deal with it because they think only women have these muscles because we have the ability to give birth. I also think that this part of the body is where women feel like their body is broken, but broken and ill-informed are two very, very different things. And so as I'm going through this riddle me this, riddle me that, this part of the body is the pelvic floor. And that is what my work has really been focused on. I'm not a pelvic floor physical therapist, although in my previous brick and mortar business and my integrated health therapies clinic, I did have pelvic floor physical therapy. I'm a Pilates instructor. I came to body work as not on accident, but because of my own experience at 21 years old. I was coughing and sneezing and peeing my pants, and I was having horrible pain with intercourse with my then fiance, now husband. And I thought that these were issues that only new moms had to deal with and old women that were in menopause. And I was 21. And I was like, what in the hell is actually going on in my body that, you know, I want to have juicy sex with my fiance. And every time we go down that path, my body just protects, it holds, I get fearful. And I was really having sex in those days, not for any pleasure of mine, but for fear that this was part of my duty as a woman to a man, and I would just forego my pain and discomfort. And, Ellecia, what really dawned on me was I was on 11 medications at that time for what started as gut pain, turned into this whole joint, headache, pelvic floor issue. And when I started doing Pilates, after 4 months of movement, that all my medications, I wasn't on any more medication. Over time, my headaches went away, my joint pain went away, and I actually started enjoying sex. And I really became curious and intrigued by the body. Like, what is going on? What is not going on? And, as someone who was raised Catholic, there was that container that, um, you waited till marriage till you had sex. You had, there was sex to procreate, but pleasure wasn't really talked about. And that's
Mhm.
where I started getting curious about that and why I have now literally dedicated my life to women and men to help them understand that the belief systems and the myths of this downward trajectory as we age is going to impact our ability to have pleasure, or pleasure should maybe just be optional, because there is actually science that inspired my creation of the Cooch Ball that said that 90% of pelvic floor dysfunction is a fitness issue. So it's breathing, it's posture, it's blood flow, and it's not a medical issue. So, how inspiring is that to know that pain during intercourse or erectile dysfunction for men, using, two really simple examples, it's about muscles, and it's not about anything more than that. And so that's why I'm excited for this conversation today, to really dive deep and help people understand that, um, this part of your body can serve you like well into an age where you might think, we're not supposed to be doing this stuff at this age. Oh, yes, you are.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. First of all, I love that you've found the thing that worked, right? It's wild to me how we can like and so many people have this experience where they grow up like just not even having like awareness, like I don't know what's going on down there. Don't think about that.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And, when you think about like the physical experience of orgasm. So for orgasm, to be able to reach orgasm physically, the 14 muscles of the pelvic floor have to be able to, between 2 and 32 times in the span of the length of the orgasm, those muscles need to physically be able to go from contract to relax, contract to relax, contract to relax. And so if you're someone who is like, a literal or a figurative tight ass who squeezes all the time, who holds stress, tension, trauma in that area, you will be someone who chases their orgasm, who is like, calling it on, like just about getting there, and maybe getting like that little tickle, and then it fades away. And you might think, well, I just can't orgasm like I used to in my 20s. Or you're someone who is like, um, when the musculature is too weak and it can't get to that squeeze, that squeezing kind of on off, you will be someone who is like, again, waiting and waiting and waiting, and you might get like half the way up the climax mountain, and then you might need to use a toy, and you might think, well, why can't this happen without the use of a toy, or whatever fill in the blank, solution is for you. So that's why, pleasure and orgasm are directly related to these muscles being able to do their job. It's like if you didn't have a strong bicep, picking up like, heavy buckets of Christmas decorations would be a challenge. It's the same exact thing. And just because we don't see these muscles, gang, does not mean that they don't deserve our love, care, and attention, because they absolutely do.
Yeah, they're so freaking important. They're so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for the listeners, what are the most common signs that someone's pelvic floor needs attention?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to say basic. So, in a woman's body, they might be coughing, sneezing, laughing, right? And leaking a little bit. So incontinence, urinary incontinence is common. What is less common and less talked about is actually fecal incontinence. So these 14 muscles include the rectum. And so fecal incontinence, meaning, you're kind of squeezing, you're in line at the grocery store, you need to fart, you're kind of holding, but that gas still leaks out, or you've had a bowel movement and you're like wiping and the toilet paper continues to have like little marks of feces on them. So that is also a sign of a pelvic floor issue. For women, again, pain during intercourse. As we age, of course, as our estrogen drops, dry vaginal tissue, it needs that blood flow. What some people don't realize, even constipation, bloating, cold, tingly feet, chronically tight hips in a man's body, like I said, erectile dysfunction. If a man has a pelvic floor that is too tight, if those muscles are too tight, and this happens to a lot of guys, like a lot of the gym bros, they are dealing with a lot of pelvic floor pain, inability to either get an erection or sustain an erection. And this becomes a problem, right? So these are all pelvic floor issues. The penis cannot get engorged with blood when the tissues of the pelvic floor are too tight. So those are some maybe common and then maybe not so common pelvic floor issues that or symptoms of a dysfunctional pelvic floor that people could be experiencing.
Yeah. 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 I love that. In the, excuse me, in the, a lot of non-monogamous communities, whether they're polyamorous or swingers or whatever, there's a lot of conversation, especially around erectile dysfunction, and so much of it is a lot of people are talking about the mental part, or all talking about Viagra or other pills that they can take, but nobody is talking about this part. And I think it's a really important part to like, how is your pelvic floor? What's the strength? Are you getting good blood flow?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, a lot.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up because, in my world, I just feel like not that it's not that it's overly common, but in a polyamorous situation or a swinger situation, um, the I always talk about the pelvic floor as being like a trifecta, right? So there's the physical aspect of how do those muscles really work? And there are biomechanics in the bedroom that plug right into those muscles that are important to, I bet nobody wakes up in the morning is like, I'm going to go to the gym and it's pelvic floor day, right? Like you don't talk like that, right? It's like it's leg day, it's back and shoulder day. But every there was research that was done in Japan, and they looked at men in particular and the stride length of a man. So the stride of how they walk, and the shorter the stride length, it was correlated to the tightness of the pelvic floor. So the tighter the pelvic floor was, the less length there was in the walking stride, right? And it makes sense, right? So if that bowl is tight, of course you're not going to be able to take a big stride when you're walking or running. And that's the physical aspect, right? The other two parts of the
Yeah.
trifecta are the emotional aspect, which you touched on, right? Being able to receive. I know for a lot of people is a challenge. We would love to give and give and give and give. And yet that receiving is really uncomfortable for us. And then the third piece of the trifecta is like the frequency and the energetics. Like that sacral energy center where there is sensuality and creativity, that is right there in that pelvic floor area. So it is like this magic cauldron in a man's body, in a woman's body. And when you understand that trifecta, it really can, bring you to a new relationship with your body so that how you choose to express yourself in a sexual way is just amplified.
Yeah, so good. So good. um okay, you created a thing for this, and I have it. And I was doing one of your okay. Okay, first of all, I'm going to tell you that story in a minute. Tell me about the Cooch Ball.
Okay. So the Cooch Ball was born out of I mean, as an entrepreneur, when you see a problem that is not being solved, you want to do something about it. So that was the impetus. When I learned that 90% of pelvic floor dysfunction is a fitness issue, it's movement, it's breathing, it's posture, I was like, wait. So as a Pilates instructor, I can impact this radically. Yes, I have this clinic with pelvic floor PT that I can send my men and women to, but I now have this opportunity. So our boys, they're now 20, 22, 24, but back then they were much younger. So I knew the feeling I wanted to create in my body. I knew that muscles that had oxygen rich, nutrient rich blood flow, they almost tingled. There was like a warm sensation to those muscles. So I thought, I want to create that sensation in my pelvic floor. So I sat on the boys' mini basketballs, their floor hockey balls. I was straddling foam rollers. I was doing all these things, trying to create this sensation. I knew the feeling I wanted to create, and I couldn't. I couldn't create it. It was like the three bears. Either the porridge was too hard or too hot. The ball was too hard. It was like, ouch. Or the porridge was too cold. It was like, meh, this is doing nothing for me. So essentially, as Goldilocks, I created the just right porridge for the pelvic floor. That is the Cooch Ball. So the Cooch Ball is it's simple. Like there's no, it doesn't, and I do get these, I get funny like people commenting like, does it vibrate? Do you have to plug it in? And I'm like, no, it's so basic, right? There's no tech to it, but blowing it up to about 80% full so that it interacts in a positive way with your nervous system. We don't want it to trigger fight, flight, freeze. And when you sit on the ball, if your pelvic floor is too tight, the ball becomes like a massage therapist. When you breathe diaphragmatically in through your nose or out through your mouth, sitting on a chair, sitting on the floor on a mat doesn't matter. The weight of your upper body on the ball becomes the impetus for that massage. So you're going to start melting through connective tissue called fascia. Fascia is like a boa constrictor snake that eliminates blood flow, which is the nutrition for your muscles. You're going to start melting through those restrictions. You're going to start feeling the tingliness, the warmth. There is going to be a little bit of an ouch factor in those bodies that have a too tight pelvic floor. But as long as you can keep breathing in a calm, relaxed manner, you stay. As soon as your breath gets a little bit erratic or you start holding your breath, you come off. And the goal is you work up to 3 minutes a day. Some of my men and women start with literally 15 seconds a day because the ouch factor is quite pronounced. And then in those bodies where there actually is a weakness of the pelvic floor, when you sit on the ball, you get this biofeedback to your brain. It's almost like you can feel the pelvic floor doing like push ups. So you have something to pull away from, and you're going to get the strength you need. So some people need the release. They don't need the Kegels. They need the relax, release, the blood flow. Some people need the strengthening. So it doesn't matter where you fall on that spectrum. This little ball gives you exactly what you need. I mean, some examples, some of my women will be like, oh my gosh, like I'm feeling this, I feel the tingliness. It's actually like there's life between my legs again. I'm wanting to explore my own body. I'm wanting to, have interactions with my partner or partners again because they get their confidence back. For men, I just had one of my guys send me an email and he's like, listen, I am waking up as the 16-year-old version of myself every damn morning. Like, thank you for that, right? And as our friend Susan Bratton says, when men wake up with a hard on, that is a sign of, your sex span. It plays into your longevity, and that's what we want. So that's the Cooch Ball. That's how it came to be, and that's as simple as this pelvic floor fitness tool is to use.
I love it. I love it so much. I got the package and I was like, oh, okay, it's a ball. And I blew it up and I was like, oh, fuck, I got this away from my dog. He is going to think this is
Yes.
his and it's mine.
Yes.
And I've been watching your videos and this is really fun because, I'm also a breathwork facilitator and you talk a lot about diaphragmatic breathing. And I'm like, yeah, got that. And I also do a lot of jade egg work. So
Uh-huh.
my partner says, how many hands do you have inside of you? How is it possible that you can stroke me with your vagina? Why, I got a real strong pelvic
Yeah.
pelvis. And,
Yeah.
but so I'm like, oh, this feels really good. I really like this. And then I was watching another one of your videos and it was like extras, other things you can do with it. And I was like, oh fuck, I've got this like sciatic pain that's been going on. So I have been rolling all over this ball and it
Amazing.
has been so helpful.
Ah,
So freaking helpful.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And this is an exact this is why I do what I do, because so many people don't understand that that like that's simply communication from your body. Your body is just telling you there's something not right here. And some of us will just ignore the whispers until they're like, the body's having an all out temper tantrum. And then you're like, well, shit, I got to go do something about this. And we tend to go to the doctor and get a prescription, and it takes away the pain, but it doesn't get to the root of why that was happening. So I love this for you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah. I was just like, "Oh, this is amazing. I can sit on my Cooch Ball, and then I'm gonna roll around on it, and it's in my butt, and I got my
Yes.
pecs or my arms, so my arms don't fall asleep, and just everything."
Brings me joy.
It's so fun. I love it, so much, so much, and,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Mm, mm.
Um, and I think this is such an important thing because people, like you said, like they'll go to they wait until they have a problem, until it's like actually a problem. And then they go to the doctor and the doctor's like, here's a pill or whatever, or here go to, I don't know what else they tell people.
Yeah.
Here's this, yeah, here's a pill, right? Uh and people don't know because we as a culture don't talk about sexual health, pelvic floor wellness, like most of these things we don't talk about enough. People just don't know that
No,
they
no.
can work on their strength.
They can. And, maybe a good time to mention is, I've mentioned pelvic floor physical therapy a few times, and just some people don't even realize there is a specialty in that realm of physical therapy. And these are therapists who they're physical therapists, but they've done additional training for the pelvic floor. And so, in a woman's body, pelvic floor PT is accessed vaginally, and in a man's body, it's accessed anally. And for some men, they need to really kind of get over that access point before they are willing to go. But so there have been two kind of really big deals over the past 90 days when it comes to men and pelvic floor health. First, there was a Bloomberg podcast that talked about all these men on Wall Street in New York City who are living lives that are super high stress, and how they are flocking to pelvic floor physical therapy because some of these guys, because again, there's muscles, there's ligaments, there's blood, but there's also nerves, right? I mean, that's how we experience everything from pain to pleasure. And there's one main nerve that runs from the brain through the genitals and the pelvic floor in a man's body and a woman's body. It's called the pudendal nerve. It's a motor nerve, so it sends messages, and it's also a sensory nerve. So it's all of those pleasure to pain sensations. And there are some men actually that get to the point where they hold so much stress and tension, or they are so disenchanted with their body if they're unable to achieve an erection or sustain an erection, where they get this disconnect. They get almost this out of body experience. And the pain that they are experiencing, like some of these guys, they were talking, couldn't even put suit pants on anymore because of all the pain in and around the scrotum. And, like, can you imagine that? And these are young guys, like in their 30s and 40s. And, the other article that was in Business Insider was a man who, for 6 years, was misdiagnosed, was really unable to have intercourse, was going pee like 20 times a day, misdiagnosed, misdiagnosed, misdiagnosed. You know what, Alicia? I think it was 3 pelvic floor therapy sessions, and he was completely it was a pelvic floor rooted issue, and he went 3 times, and, like, imagine that, 6 years. Imagine what that does to your mind after 6 years of feeling like your body is broken, like it's not serving you. And so I mention this because for many people, pelvic floor PT is like a lifesaver to get back our confidence and our sensuality, and to believe that yes, our body is working to serve us. Like that's pretty major. Being able to orgasm plays into our immunity, it plays into our lungs. Like it's just not about sex. Like it's all of these things. And I can say at 51 years old, compared to my 21-year-old version of me, like all of those aspects of my life, yes, in a monogamous relationship, my husband and I are like, it feels like this, I mean, I think it's what people think this is what sex in your 20s should be like. And I'm like, hell no. Now that we know our body and we've gone through moments where
Yeah.
maybe it hasn't served us, and now we know exactly what it needs, and we're taking the time to make sure that we can sustain the health of our pelvic floor. Um, like amazing, right?
Yeah. 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 It's this like really powerful and also overlooked part of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you share what would be a small like a small daily practice that can help people reconnect to their pelvic floor or their sensuality?
Yeah. So what people don't realize is that their pelvic floor, so those 14 muscles, it has a major relationship with our diaphragm, which as a breathwork instructor, the diaphragm is that main breathing muscle. And a lot of people don't realize that. So anatomically, our pelvic floor and our diaphragm are basically the diaphragm is like the upstairs neighbor of the pelvic floor. And the metaphor that I've used recently is like if you imagine if the diaphragm was like the influencer, the pelvic floor is like the follower. So when the diaphragm is not moving, the pelvic floor is also not going to be moving. So, especially as women or men, actually men too, men at the gym, same thing. When we're not breathing properly, the body doesn't, we don't die because we don't breathe properly. The body just reassigns the breath from the diaphragm to these little muscles in our neck called the scalenes and the sternocleidomastoids. So people get really jacked up in their neck. They can't wait for their next, acupuncture, massage, or chiro adjustment. And then they get that and then they get jacked up again because their biomechanics of breathing, they're using these little muscles that already have a job. Those muscles hold our head up on our spine. And now we're asking them to breathe for us 22,000 times a day. That's a lot to ask. So when we understand that if we took 3 times, 3 moments in our day to pause and with one hand just kind of on our chest and one hand on our belly button to inhale through the nose, breathe into that bottom palm on the belly button, exhale out of the mouth, just allow the ribs to relax. And you get this beautiful, like pumping of the torso. That diaphragm is now working like a newborn baby that's breathing 8 to 10 times, 3 times a day. Now you've got that influencer or that upstairs neighbor actually moving, and the downstairs neighbor is looking up and thinking, huh, okay. I'm gonna, because remember, they do the same thing. When the diaphragm moves, the pelvic floor will move. When the diaphragm is quiet, the pelvic floor is quiet. That would be the number one thing to do starting today. It's almost like CPR for your pelvic floor is breathing
Mm,
diaphragmatically.
so good. So good. I want everyone to
How
breathe better
simple, right?
and have more orgasms. Like that is just what I want
Yes.
people to do.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? The breath work, like the breath work is, even my husband and I have been playing around with more breath work while we are, having foreplay and intercourse because it actually does change what's going on inside of your body and how you are experiencing those sensations. Our nervous system, I mean, we were built so brilliantly, right? So when we have these short breaths or we're holding our breath, that sympathetic nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze is like, oh my gosh, alert, she needs help, she's not safe, right? And that changes how we can receive. But when we can really, allow and invite through the breath, pleasure with ourselves, with a partner or partners, it can, like I've used the word amplify a few times today, but it can exponentially amplify what your body can receive.
Mhm, mhm. My partner has found that using a conscious connected breath right after he comes shortens his refractory period to almost zero.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool stuff.
And how, you know what, like, how fun is that, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's real
this is
fun.
the stuff, right? Like, this is the stuff that I often think back to, like, health class and what we learned in like high school to prepare us to like, be be in this body. And yes, you know what? Yes, we're in high school and we giggled and all those things, but I feel like we are not taught to learn how to experience the body, right? In the way that, like, imagine imagine what life could be like for many people that knew this or had this relationship with their body first.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what? You could feel good and know what's
Hmm.
happening in your body?
Hmm. Yeah. And
Amazing.
that doesn't make me a bad girl, right?
Ah, right. Right. Actually, I might even make significantly better choices in my life. Huh.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to share?
You know, this, I guess I would just, invite your audience to be curious about their bodies in this way. And, that sense of curiosity or inquisitiveness, I feel like is the is the first step to really taking the health and fitness of this part of our body to the next level. The pelvic floor maybe isn't like, from a physical perspective, isn't like maybe as sexy as, working the peach and getting that peach emoji on our Instagram reels and things like that. Um, but it is a necessary piece to our sensuality and sexuality. And so become curious with your body, because it does have all of these kind of like little spider webs that build out from that space.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. How can people find you and your Cooch Ball?
So it's pretty easy. I mean, on all the social medias, I'm Jana with one N dot Danielson. Coochball.com is a great place to find out more information about the Cooch Ball. There's a little 7-minute training video. Um, so you know what? That's where you can find me. Please, please, like, don't ever hesitate to, send me a DM. There is never, and this is how they usually start. Hey, Jana, I saw you on a podcast, or I saw that last TikTok you did. This might be TMI, but dot, dot, dot. And then it comes. There really is not, too much information when it comes to, and I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I might be able to give you just some considerations or some suggestions, that if they happen to be outside of my scope of practice, that can at least, we can at least start the conversation.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I'll put all the links in the show notes so people can just click on it.
Awesome.
um,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I have one more question for you, and it doesn't go on the main episode. It's for our supporters of the show on Patreon at patreon.com/not monogamous. And the segment's just the tip. And what I want to know is, what is a best or favorite sex tip that you would give people? Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been so good.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for, the invitation. I believe this is just a missing piece in so many people's lives. And when they start to understand it, things just will start to click. So thanks again for everything that you do.
Of course. Of course. Okay, let's give Jana a huge thank you for that. Go find her. Links in the show notes. I really love this conversation because it proves something that I say all the time, which is that, like, whether you're polyamorous, monogamous, or just like figuring your sexy self out, your body is a part of that story. And I'm still not discriminating against the monogamous. Everyone has their choices that work for them. If you enjoyed this episode, if you want to help us keep these kind of conversations happening, you could support the show for just $3 at patreon.com/notmonogamous. And that's not very much, right? But it really makes a huge difference for us. It helps keep the lights on. You'll get bonus content, behind the scenes extras, my eternal gratitude for helping us keep this community thriving. And right now you can get a Nope, We're Not Monogamous sticker. Look. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. Look at this cute little sticker. I made this sticker. It's thick. It's like a water bottle sticker, right? You get a free sticker. I'll actually mail it to you. I actually write your address on the envelope and put a stamp on it to mail this sucker to you. So go join Patreon. If you're not going to do that, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And leave me a review and let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. Go give your pelvic floor some love. Bye.